prayed about it a lot, talked with my family, talked with you. Would I regret missing that season? Maybe. Would I regret missing my son's birth? For sure.
So welcome to the No Days Off pod by Dad Season. Usually John does the intro, but I'll do it today. We have one of my best friends, Nate Sudfeld, on the show. NFL quarterback, Indiana quarterback. You have their passing record still, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and they had a great year, but you still have all the records. Potentially almost a Arizona Wildcat. We'll get into that. And we got my co-host John here.
Pleasure. You crushed that.
I keep it simple. You know, I
like
could.
it.
He has a lot of different things. Drafted to Washington and all that. But I think just keeping it simple and keeping it friendly is the best way to go. But I do think the best way to start this show, because Nate's nervous, because if we go back to
Don't project.
if we go back to 2017 when he signed with Philadelphia,
Yep.
and we meet for the second time. I thought it was the first time, but the second time in the locker room. If I told him, hey, in 2025 we'd be in a Change for Balance, No Days Off Dad Season studio doing a pod that I'm directing you with John,
Yep.
we would laugh, and he'd be like, you're crazy. Like, let's just go to the watch film and let's go do our thing. But let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
You remember that? I wanted like an easy start for you. Do you remember when you came up to me, and we've talked about this story a lot. It's one of our favorite stories. It's probably my favorite story
Yeah.
of when we were reintroduced in Philadelphia when you were with the Philadelphia Eagles.
So, yeah, when you first met me, but my second time meeting you, right? Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. I just signed in Philadelphia, and I was excited for the opportunity. And I was excited to meet an old friend again.
Yeah,
I
old
thought. Yeah.
So where was the first time?
So the first time, I want to say circa 2011. I was one of the early commits in the recruiting class, the 2012 recruiting class to the University of Arizona Wildcats.
In Tucson, Arizona.
In Tucson,
For
Arizona.
everyone.
I think Pac-10 at the time, maybe Pac-12. Maybe
Pac-10.
just
I
had
was,
been Pac-12.
or yeah, we were Pac-12 at that time.
Yeah,
but I was
so
Pac-10 earlier.
I committed early to go play quarterback and to carry on the Nick Foles legacy best I could, and
probably break my records too.
You never know. Honestly, story wasn't written there. But so I went on a I think it was an official visit to Arizona. I went in the weight room, meeting with the strength coaches, and a young, long-haired Nick Foles was in there, and I was like, oh, this is a great player. Good. Yeah, I've heard he's a good dude. And went up, introduced myself, like, hey, Nick, I'm Nate. I'm committed here, and dude, a lot of respect for you as a player. You're awesome. And he was very great, engaging. Nick took the time, talked to me. I think he was tired from his workout because he completely stepped away from his workout.
A free break.
Yeah, literally trying to take it as recruiting. But yeah, so we chatted for a while, meant a lot to me. He gave me great advice on what to do going off to college. So I took a lot of that and ended up not working out. A coaching change happened to Arizona, and I ended up decommitting and committing to Indiana, where my offensive coordinator, long story short, went to Indiana, and that was one of the reasons I went there. Ended up getting to play for 4 years and had a great career and enjoyed my time in Bloomington. But fast forward, I think 2017, yeah, I think you're right, 2017, signed with Philadelphia, thinking, oh, I'll get to see my old buddy Nick. I go in the locker room. I'm like, Nick, what's up? It's Nate. It's good to see you again, man. Like, excited to work with you. You're like, Nate, nice to meet you. I was like, I wasn't sure if he just said the wrong thing. I was a little kind of sheepish, a little embarrassed. And I was like, do you not remember me coming into the weight room and you giving me such good advice? You were really, embracing me as a future quarterback and stuff, and you literally had no idea who I was. So it was extremely humbling coming into Philadelphia immediately that, yeah, you had no idea who I was. Kind of hurt my feelings.
You know what, and I apologize for that, but it's been a great story many, many times. I've shared it, and we've talked about it, probably even at your wedding. I probably said it when I was giving the speech. I sort of blacked out and just wanted to speak from the heart.
That's great. Hey, remember that time I forgot who you were?
Yeah, you love that story.
I think it's a great
so good
story.
For me, but
Exactly.
Because like Nate means so much to me
Right.
and my family and Tori, and we'll get into all that, specifically why, because the journey really started for us then. And what was funny about that is I remember I was very like straightforward, like, you remember me? I was like, no, I don't. But I'm sorry, like, let's go to the meeting. Like, but it was just fun because in the QB room, we had a tight QB room with Nate, Carson, and I, and we had early hours. So I'm with 2 young quarterbacks. I'm a new dad. So like these guys want to get in there bright and early, and it was great. I did that the year before in Kansas City. So we would meet every morning, watch film. Carson would leave the room every now and then because he had play ideas, and then you and I'd be in there chatting, and then we'd make bulletproof coffee. And we'd have bulletproof coffee, listen to some worship music,
Very nice.
and have a great time. But what I learned from that experience is whenever I see someone, and I'm not sure if I met them or not, I just always say, instead of say nice to meet you, I say it's good to see you, because it sort of covers up everything, right? Because there are
takeaway.
I've had to learn because, and that's not it is funny, but it's also a respect thing. Like
Absolutely.
I've been blessed to meet so many people, so many wonderful people, and then there's times where I'm like, I feel like I've met you, but I can't remember. So it's just good to see you. It covers it up. And like, yeah, we saw each other. Oh, yeah, we did. And I know I'm not the only one out there. So
no, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
I think when people meet you, it's a huge, huge moment for them, but you're meeting so many people all the time. That's hard to remember everybody.
Yeah. And that's definitely happened to me before where I'm like, hey, I remember, no, I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
So I know the feeling. But that 2017 season, and I think it'd be fun to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
We have a great year. We have a lot of fun, and then all of a sudden, everything changes in LA. My role changes, your role changes, and obviously Carson's going through his injury, and we were, in a way, like we're all like Christians, and that was a foundation of like all our relationships, and they're all unique. Like mine and Nate's relationship is unique. And then Nate's and Carson's was away. Mine and Carson's was away. But it was really cool because we all had this foundation in Christ. So obviously when that happened, we're praying and we're thinking about Carson. But then I'm playing, and then he can come in at any time. So I remember going back to the facility after that, and you and I would be in the film room. You remember that day, the first day back, we're getting ready to go play the Giants. And everything, like our team's really, really good. Like number 1 team in the NFL. Yeah. And instead of watching film and everything, what did we do?
Yeah, we sat there and we chatted for a little bit. We just kind of took inventory of like the task at hand. We took it very seriously, and but we weren't ready to just dive right into the film. We kind of had
emotions.
to ton of emotions, and really felt for Carson. He was having an unbelievable year, like one of the best years I've ever seen, and he's such a good dude. And but then like all the responsibility, it's next man up. So we were definitely taking it very seriously, but I appreciated your honesty and like even sharing how you were feeling. Cause like usually in those moments, someone comes in like, oh yeah, I'm good. I got it. And like, you'll get there, but if you're honest with yourself, like there's a lot of emotions, roles change. Now you have to step into more of a vocal leadership role, and you have to like prepare. You have a ton of responsibility, not just for, the guy in front of you, but the whole team, the city. And so, yeah, we kind of took a step back. I like to think we built up, we pulled the slingshot back a little bit and then took off instead of just walking immediately.
What do you remember thinking when you, like in those times?
Man, a lot of things. I was part of me was just super excited that I was about to get a ton of reps and I could actually go show what I could do a little bit. So there was definitely a part of that where I was like, oh yeah, here we go. Now I can play a little bit. And then, also wanting to support Nick the best I could. Just feeling a ton of responsibility for, I had so much respect for especially the guys in the trenches, the O-line, the D-line, who you see put their body on the line every single day, every practice, every game, that you want to come in and you want to do the best job possible. You want to help bring the energy, bring the leadership every day, because, it's what's beautiful about football, as like you have different body types, you have different roles. Like I am so different than the kicker, who's so different from Jason Peters and Lane Johnson, the tackles. But then you have a cohesive unit that puts it all together and wins games. There's nothing like it, but everyone has their job. Everyone has their responsibility, and you owe it to yourself and to your teammates to to take it very seriously.
And Nate's awesome. Always done that so well. I mean, this was his second year in the league. So he was drafted by Washington in the 6th round.
Yeah, 6th round.
And so he's there, and, great rookie. They sort of do, not going to get into it much, but like do him a little dirty to where like they're taking advantage. Like you stayed there that first offseason to like train and get ready as a young player. Amazing college career. suffered some injuries in college, fought back from them. So, like, you know, just a guy that brings it every single day. And we were talking beforehand, Nate's like one of the best athletes I've ever been around. Like, anything you do, Nate's going to be great at. And I love that because we always compete at everything. Right after this, we're going to go compete on the golf course. And we haven't played in a while, but we're going to have a lot of fun catching up and a great time.
We'll get you on a surfboard soon.
Dude, for sure. My brother can shred a little bit, but I can get up, but I'm not great at that.
That's awesome.
But like, even being in year 2, I was so impressed with his work ethic, and Carson's as well. Like, both these guys are year 2 and I'm year 6, and their work ethic and what they brought every single day was so impressive. Like, even as a young player, like a guy that I met in Tucson while I'm getting ready for the NFL, and he's getting ready to start his college career. Like, now we're in the same locker room in the NFL. Like, he impacted me in that way because, you know, diving into the playbook. You know, when Carson's playing, we're both running scout teams. So I always felt like, as a backup, you know, there's veterans that are truly like the backup, like, you know, is Carson and me and then Nate, that don't give I wouldn't give Nate reps, but I want to give Nate reps. So we would split it up. If it was like a 6-play period, I get 4, he'd get 2. And we'd always try to make it, I'd always get more, but then he would get reps because I wanted him to develop and I wanted him to play. And no matter what, he was so grateful and he brought it. He never pouted. And he would try to get more or he'd try to play make it, take it or something. And I love that about him but I'm like, no, like, you're not doing that, because I knew if we played make it, take it, like, I might, like, if I miss like one throw, like, I might not get any reps, and I need reps because he's that good. Right. But just watching him in individuals and how he brought it and how he did extra every single thing every day was so impressive. And to this day, like, he's carried that on to who he is, and it's been so impactful. But that's also to, like, if there's like little kids listening to this podcast, because we want to make it a family friendly podcast. If you want to be great at something, it's not like in the NFL, it's really day started at 8 and ended at like 5:30, 6:30, depending on the time of year, right? Mm-hmm. If you just do that, it's not enough. So like, we'd be in at 6. We would get in 2 hours of film, and then usually quarterback meetings would go a little longer. I would leave at that time as soon as we were done because there's always storytelling at the end because I had to go home. I wanted to go home to see Lily because she was 7 months old. Mm-hmm. But it was that extra work that both him and Carson did and we did, like, that's important. So if you're listening, like, you have a foundation that you want to do with your team, but make sure you get that extra work in. And there's times where, like, you know, we'll get into like body maintenance and biohacking, health, nutrition, like, all that stuff counts. Like, every single thing you do at a facility matters, and Nate's always been amazing at that and super impactful. But like, going through that year was really special in the sense of the brotherhood. Like, there's 2 types of backup quarterbacks. There's the type of backup quarterback that acts like he likes the starter, but really wants him to get injured because he wants to play. Because everyone wants to play, but like, there's also the other type that knows that they would love to play, but they want the best for the starter, and they're going to be there to help him. They're going to be there to support him. And I always wanted to be that guy to support the starter no matter whatever they needed. It's tough at times, but like, that was what was best for the team. And Nate was that same way. And without Nate throughout 2017, like, he was like, that's where our brotherhood was forged. Like, in the meeting room, that first day back after Carson's injury, we just sat there and talked about life. And we talked about what was going on in both our hearts. We opened up. And I feel like that first, like, from 6:15 to 8 was a lot of that. We had our worship music on. We're both Christians. So we, you know, foundation of faith, put a Bible verse on the wall, talk about that. And then we go to the meeting. And I think the day 2, we really dove back in on our extra time, but we needed that. And it meant so much coming off the field in games and knowing Nate was there. And then, you know, we'll get into it, but like, the next year I got hurt against Washington, your old team, and you got to go in and throw a touchdown, and I'm getting my ribs x-rayed, and I jumped up in like the x-ray machine because I was so excited for Nate. So I think that's super important. You know, we can talk about the Super Bowl and all that. It's fun. It's well documented. Mm-hmm. I guess I'd love to hear just like, what was that rest of the year like for you? Like, the emotions, the ups and downs, what you learned from it. Anything you got?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like we started touching on, that was a wild, you know, it was such a fun season. I mean, that was the most together I've ever felt a team in any level of sports. It was amazing. It felt like so many things were bouncing our way as well. We had some really unfortunate injuries, but it felt like, you know, balls tipped in the air, we were coming down with balls hitting, you know, an upright was going our way. Just felt that way the whole year. Felt like the wind was at our back for the most part. But there was such a tightness, like a community on that team. players, coaches, staff throughout, where it was really just a super healthy environment of, everyone contributing. Then we get to the playoffs. We have that bye week, we're practicing full pads, and then have Atlanta, tough, cold game. But we pull out a win, and then
it's an ugly game.
It was an ugly game. And then we play Minnesota, and we have dreams and nightmares going pregame, and I'm like, we could win by 40, but could we lose? Like, are we too jacked up?
You just don't know.
I had no idea. I'd never seen, everyone was dancing. I was holding back some dancing. There's a video. I'm like kind of like getting hyped. Nick is the only one stoically just, he was unconscious that whole day. I've never seen anything like it. But so we have that. The whole crowd's going crazy. First drive, they come down and like score, kind of a slow start for us. And then it goes crazy. Nick, I think it was a touchdown, a couple drives, couple touchdowns. And then remember we had one, Nick was off schedule, rolling to the right, threw a ball to Nelson Aguilar. And I'm standing next to Frank Reich, our offensive coordinator at the time. And I'm just like, I had never seen Nick make a play like that. And I like look at Frank, and Frank pulls down his headset and looks at me. He's like, he's unconscious. And I was like, I know. So it was unbelievable. And then that, then you got chanted. I think they subbed you out. I got to go in, take a knee in the NFC Championship game, which was, I was just fired up. I think I threw the ball into the stands.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a good keepsake, but you were so jacked up.
Yeah, I was just jacked, man. No, I think I had dudes in the huddle like, man, toss that thing.
Oh, you gave in to peer pressure of the O-line, huh?
Dude, for sure. Whatever they need,
whatever they
got
need.
them. I'm gonna bring the juice. So, threw the ball, but that was amazing, super, fun. But we got right to work immediately, and then, like you said, it's well documented. We went to Minneapolis. I will say it was interesting having the Super Bowl in such a cold environment because we were all just in the Mall of America the whole time. Yeah. So we were missing some vitamin D for sure, but we just did like escape rooms and stuff.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Have you done an escape room?
I have.
They were so
Pretty
fun.
wild.
It was my first time doing one, and it was kind of one thing we could do that, is either that or go to a movie where you're not kind of interacting with other people. We could kind of stay focused but have a little, escape for a bit. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But
we did escape.
Yeah, we sure did. I think we needed help on one of them, but
I think that was the one I might have messed up and misread.
maybe Carson was really good at those. Actually,
he was solid. We had a good group. Did Frank like it? I couldn't tell. Like he.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think it was his thing. But yeah, we could ask him. But so yeah, the escape room was a lot of fun. But even just that camaraderie, that community was a lot of fun. But other things. Yeah, we're just kind of making sure we were getting what we needed. I think Epsom salt baths, like whatever it took to get our body and mind right for the game. And then, the game's kind of a blur. Again, you were unconscious for a couple weeks there. Balled out in that game. I remember that touchdown throw to Alshon. I believe the play was topper.
Yeah, topper deep cross. Yeah.
Which the read is not where you threw it. So every play, I'm watching the quarterback. I'm like, okay, single high coverage. All right, we're going to play action. Got deep cross to check down. Like I'm playing it in my head. So I'm always going, okay, eyes to the safety. Okay, fake. All right, oh, we got the deep cross. Throw it. He throws it, but his shoulders are tilted like to throw it deeper. I'm like, what's he doing? And he throws like the outside release post versus single high. Throws it like a go ball. So it's perfect. But I'm like, oh, dude, heck yeah, let's go. Like fired up. But another example where I'm like, man, this guy's just unconscious. Don't tell him anything. Just keep doing your thing. It was unbelievable. Again, things were just going right for us. But then, when we ended up winning, I remember coming over to you. I think it's on the mic'd up. I'm like, dude, it's over. When the ball finally hit on the Hail Mary attempt. And then, from there, we did the parade and everything. I think you went to Disney World, but the parade was fun. And it was a whirlwind. But
it was cold.
So fun.
The parade was cold.
Yeah, you looked miserable.
I was sick.
You looked miserable on the float.
I was sick. There's a photo that Ed Miller took of me in the locker room because I had gotten sick right before it and had no energy when I checked in at the link. And I was like, hey, Dom, Dom's now famous. So I say Dom. Everyone's like, oh, big Dom. Dom has like a signing coming up, like a legit like signing.
As he should, man.
It's unbelievable. I think he's going to get into acting and everything too, which is amazing.
He's always had those
He looked good. I just saw him in Philly. He looks great.
I saw him talking at an Italian convention thing. Like, dude, He's the real deal.
Dom's someone
That's
you
not
want
that
on your
real.
side.
No doubt. He's the man.
No.
Shout out Big Dom.
No, shout out.
Did you get any reps of the Philly special in practice?
No, I did have some say, though. I think I was the one who said, hey, yell lane, lane. Because
I actually believe that because Nate is very good at making like great ideas, but making it like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, just some acting pedigree. I don't know. But
How much did I
know
struggle with that at first?
You did. I was like, we can't do this. Because, Nick, you had no selling ability. I remember Press came up with the play, and then we, like, practiced it, and it was so bad. You're like, easy, kill. And then, like, we were like, when's the cue for us to snap the ball?
Yeah.
Like, and I think you should make it, I believe, I went up. I was like, dude, I think you should just yell Lane's name as if you're trying to get his attention because it'll be loud.
Yeah.
You were like, Lane, Lane. And then that was like the cue to snap the ball. And the first couple were so bad. I think, didn't we practice it before, like,
Atlanta.
Before Atlanta?
We
So
had
it was
it
the
in
whole
Atlanta.
playoffs.
Yeah.
We did not, it was in the slow cooker.
We needed to marinate.
It was in the slow cooker for a while. You know, he had to let that thing really, break down all the flavor in there. But it didn't take, I think we started feeling good about it the week of the Super Bowl. And then I still was like, there's no way we call this in the actual Super Bowl, let alone in that situation. So credit to you for thinking of it in that moment. Because I walked right over, because I'd always on timeouts be like, all right, what are we talking about? Like listening in. And you were like, you want Philly, Philly? And I was like, no way. And then Doug was like, yeah, let's do it. I was like, oh, shoot. Then I turned around and everyone would always be like, what are we calling? Because they knew I'd always know the play call. And I was like, don't smile, guys, but it's Philly special.
I was with Jason Kelsey at an event, and at the time, like, looking back on it, I feel like everyone loved the play and everyone felt really excited about the play. But he said when I called it in the huddle that he was like, man, I cannot believe we're running this play. I want to know, what was your thoughts when I came over and asked for you want Philly, Philly?
Yeah, man, I was definitely a little surprised. First of all, the way you called the play threw me off because it's not exactly what the play was called. It was called Philly Special, and Philly Philly was something else in our offense that meant something slightly different that we never did. So I was a little confused at first, but then Doug was like, oh yeah, let's do it. And I was like, oh, they mean Philly Special. So yeah, I was definitely surprised, but kind of excited to see how it was going to play out. And I knew it was a big moment. And like, I knew in that moment, honestly, that, I mean, this is one of those play calls that's either like, what are they doing in this situation? Or what a ballsy situation,
Yes.
what a ballsy call.
Yes.
So I was just kind of, popcorn in hand, waiting to see how it played out. I knew you'd catch it. But
Trey
great
threw
throw.
a dime.
Great throw by Trey. I mean, that's
Amazing
not an
throw.
easy throw.
It is
in the
not. That was his
situation,
best throw.
on the run, and it was his best throw that we repped.
Yes.
Because in practice, I mean, he can throw it really well, but it was not. I mean, that was a dime. But in practice, he wasn't always putting it exactly there. Again, it's a hard throw, but yeah. So just pure excitement once it all came through. But yeah, it was interesting.
It's just cool how that play means so much because like you came out with the lane, and it just shows you the importance of teamwork and how collaborative our team was in that situation. No matter if you're a young player, older player, coach that brings it, a young coach that brings it to the table, it means so much. And I mean, we've talked about it, and it's like we said, well documented. The rest of the game, ultimately being victorious, winning the Super Bowl, us getting to celebrate together. You coming over to me and saying like it's over, but and it for a little while it was crazy. But one of the coolest parts was, I'm then rushed to media and doing all these different things, and I like want to see Nate, I want to see everyone, but I can't because like I'm getting rushed to every little thing. And when I get back to the locker room, like I just watched the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year, Super Bowl 59, and I'm like watching the locker room and like everyone's in there, Jalen's in there, and I didn't get that. I was doing so many different media things. I didn't get to celebrate with my teammates, with the champagne, did we get goggles?
No.
Like, where were the goggles? Like, we didn't get any of that cool stuff. I mean, maybe they weren't expecting us to win, and they like Oakley didn't give us goggles,
true.
or maybe Oakley wasn't a sponsor at that time for the NFL. But I love Oakley, so shout out to Oakley.
Yeah,
We both love Oakley. I mean, we'll wear Oakley on the pod.
For sure. Just rocking these big shades in here.
Yeah. But one of the coolest parts was when I finally got back there, and I got to show you this footage that Mark gave me. He had a GoPro going, trainer, good friend. He just sent me footage of behind the scenes of me entering the training room and like we're in there, Carson's there, everyone's in there, and I remember we just sat together. And we just sat together and just took it in because it meant so much to, obviously, Philadelphia. It meant a lot to us. But then I remember Tony Dungy walking in.
That's right.
And getting to talk with us. Like, that was just such a cool experience to go through. But, you know, all that's wonderful. But what I really want to get to is 2018. So, we have a tough year that year. Not as clean of a season. But Nate and I's relationships continue to grow. And then I get a call with 3 games left in the season. I'm about to go speak at a charity event. And, you know, Doug Peterson tells me Carson's injured and that I'm going to be starting the remainder of the season. And Nate's going to be backing me up. So I assume that they're going to call Nate, like, and tell him that he's now in a different role, a very important role. That, like, if I go down, it's Nate's show. Nate's going to go, which Nate is very equipped to do this. But my first call right after, just to make sure, just in case they did not call Nate, was to call him and myself and let him know what's going on. And, you know, we were on this cauliflower pizza kick, and at this time he's living by himself in his apartment near the facility, and asked him what he's doing. He's making this epic cauliflower pizza, just put it in the oven.
Great stuff.
And it was at the time.
He was excited about it. So I like tell him, I'm like, hey man, this is what's going on. You're backing me up. Like, we're going in the morning. Like, you cool? Like, and like Nate and I've done this rodeo before, so like we know how to work. We work so well together. And then I have to go to this function. I had to cut the function a little short because I was dealing with the emotion of it all. Like, I dropped to my knees when Doug said that, and it was like just all the memories of the previous year and all the pressures we were under hit me at once. I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's gonna expect us to do the same thing we just did. So then when I'm talking to Nate, he's doing the cauliflower pizza, he gets it. So the next morning we're there, and I'm like, how was the cauliflower pizza? What happened to that pizza?
Yeah, definitely lost track of it. And I noticed there was smoke. I just wasn't that hungry after I found out, you know, feeling the nerves, but excited, feeling for Carson. Yeah, I mean, feeling, like you said, I mean, it was amazing how it all played out the year before. But like you've said, people don't, it's easy to look in hindsight and say, oh, what a fun ride.
Yeah.
And it was, but like, we took it very seriously, and there was a lot of pressure, you know, for you especially, and just to keep it going. So then to, you know, be in a similar position the next year to do it again, it's one thing to do it once, but then to do it again, you know, wanting to bring the same amount of effort and care to it. Yeah, I completely lost track of the pizza. And then, yeah, you asked me the next day, how was the rest of your night? I was like, well, I didn't eat the cauliflower pizza. It pretty much went up in flames because lost track of it. Yeah, but that wasn't too bad. But then we got right to work. I will say though, you were, you know, I've backed up several quarterbacks in my career and been around a lot of tough guys, and you're as tough as they come. You were a challenge to back up though, because you would wear on your face a hit more than, like, to me, like, not like for the world to see, but I'd be like, Nick, you good? And you'd just be like, I'm good. And so I'm always like, am I in? Like, am I in? You're like, no, I'm good. But like after hits, I'd be like, am I in or not? Like, you were hard to read sometimes. So that used to get really challenging for me.
It was tough for me too. And I feel bad that I did that to you. I will give you some sense of clarity on those hits. So a lot of them were rib injuries, right?
For sure.
So I had to get x-rayed and all these different things done because I had another rib injury in Indianapolis. That was the last play I had of my career. And they did a bunch of x-rays on it and CT scans or whatever. And they're like, do you know you have like multiple like rib fractures in here that have healed through years? And I was like, you know what? I've had many scans on this and no one's ever told me there was any fractures. And they're like, yeah, you have several in your ribs where it's clearly been a fracture that is healed. And we can see it here, here, and here. And I'm like, well, it wouldn't matter because, like, as long as it's like a hairline fracture, you're usually good. I'm sure there's a doctor that'll chime in and be like, oh, no. But, like, you know, football is a physical sport. I was just on a chairlift with someone the other day who their friend was a team doctor, and they had to stop being a team doctor because players were always playing through injuries that they didn't recommend. And my thing is, like, I understand that and it's tough, but you have to realize, like, this is a tough game. It's a gladiator sport, and you're never 100% when you step on the field. But sometimes, like, that's a reminder. It's like a needle a thorn in your side, and you realize, like, for us, like, leaning on faith, leaning on Christ, to get through those injuries and like those brothers, because it means so much. It's a team sport. It's not like I'm going out and I love golf. I love the individual sports, but I love football because it's a team sport, and you have to fight through those injuries. And Nate's done it throughout his career. Nate, being on the show means so much to me, and get through this part. We end up having a great year, finishing the year strong in 2018. 2019 playoffs, lose to the Saints. Our friendship continues. I eventually signed in Jacksonville, and Tori and I had a miscarriage at 15 weeks, a pretty traumatic miscarriage where she had bacterial meningitis. I remember the moment it happened, and she got really sick, and in her way that she almost went septic, and the baby like almost really saved her. But I remember going through that, and there's a lot of struggle with myself, like feeling that, obviously leaning on the Lord throughout it all. And then the woman goes through a lot. But Nate was such a pivotal piece through that. He came, we were playing them in the preseason, and a couple guys came by our house in Jacksonville. And Nate, can you share the story? Because it's so impactful. Because what I realized when I opened up about our miscarriage, I had to do it publicly because people wondered why I missed some off-season practices. And I had a couple of people come to me privately and talk about their journey and how they hadn't really talked about it and how it's so difficult for them and their wife, what they went through. But you really helped Tori turn the corner. Can you share what that was?
Yeah. I mean, came by the house and was just checking in with you guys, connecting. And you had told me what had happened, and I'd wanted to share with you, in the appropriate time. You don't always want to interject an anecdote or a story that relates to something you've gone through, but something I've known my whole life. My parents had a miscarriage with a baby that my mom was, I want to say 4 or 5 months to term with, had a miscarriage, and then like immediately she got pregnant with me. So if that baby came to term, I wouldn't be here, which is just a crazy thing to think. But I remember, my mom still is really sad, but it's a weird feeling, talking about that, because if that baby hadn't passed, like I wouldn't be here. So I remember sharing that with Nick, and how hard it was for my parents, but the kind of that I was able to be here because they were able to go through some hardship. And I just shared that story with you, and was just trying to show love and comfort to you guys, because I knew like how devastating that is, especially for the mother who their body goes, her body goes through so much, and then to go through so much and then lose a baby, it's just absolutely devastating. So just wanted to share that, that experience that my family had. And it's still weird to think that I have a sibling that I haven't met, and if they came to term, I wouldn't be here.
No, and the thing that was like, it was crazy because then, we get pregnant with Duke. Yeah. And so we've have a family line on my side of having, the middle name be Edward. And, Nate and I are so close. That story was so impactful to Tori and I. And when we're doing the middle name for Duke, I was like, I really would like it to be Nathan for Nate, just because it means so much to me, just our friendship, our history together, what we've gone through together, and just the journey that we're continuing to go on together. So we named him Duke Nathan. And what's crazy about it too is so we do it, and my mom goes, "Do you realize that you were going to be named Nathan?" I did not know this, because my dad always wanted me to be Willie Foles. He loves baseball. He's like, that's such a great baseball name. So Tori's brother Evan always just calls me Willie. So I go, it's always Willie. But that was like a really cool part of it as well. So so everyone knows, like, that's Nate means a lot to me. So thank you for that. And I know Tori really appreciates it, but, and now we have Duke, and then we have Bodie. So Bodie's Bodie Edward. And then before that, Henry, our dog, was Henry Edward. So we had it. So Henry's the first Edward. He kept the line going.
That's great. Special connection.
Yeah. And what's great about this, and the No Days Off by Dad season, we talk about life, we talk about football, we talk about journeys, but then fatherhood, marriage, all the things. So we want to talk a little bit about Sierra.
Let's talk about.
This is where the fun begins. This was just more to keep the listeners engaged, maybe get a little real. So this is the meat and potatoes of everything. Like, all the other stuff was just fluff. Yeah. All right. Sierra is what really matters, and Luca is what really matters. Let's just talk about the first time that we talked about Sierra. When was this?
Yeah, I want to say it was 2018, that second season together, because that off season, So the New England Patriots had 2 players on their team, Jacob and Cody Hollister, who are, spoiler alert, my brother-in-laws. And I had gone to Bend, Oregon to go train with them, but also with Kevin Boss, shout out, who has a training facility, Boss Sports Performance. So I'd go there in the off season after that Super Bowl to go train because I have some family out there. And so I'm training with Jacob and Cody. And then a couple months into training with them, we do a bonfire and their sister shows up, and her name is Sierra. And yeah, basically long story short, yeah, I was intrigued, but it wasn't great timing at the time. So I remember, yeah, from that point on, I think I'd gone back, yeah, and talked with Nick, and Nick, yeah, he had questions about, her. And then really we didn't
more opinions about what he should do.
Yeah, but we didn't date for a while. We were friends. Yeah, you can share this part of it
Was
if
he
you want.
immediately supportive of this?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh,
This new.
so instantly
There's
we're
support in there.
so there's
pushing.
there's vivid moments in one's life they remember. This is one of them, and it wasn't even really for me; it was for him. Remember, we're in a QB room. Tori and I are very invested in Nate's life. We want to find him a girlfriend, but he's very focused on his career and driven. Like he just locks in, he goes, and that's just his mentality. And I think it's so impressive. And I'd always ask him, hey, is there a girl? Is there a girl? Is there a girl? And finally he's like, well, my brothers and her brother, they're trying to hook. I train. He told me the whole story. Like they're trying to put Sierra and I together. And he's like, it's just not the right time. And I was like, well, Instagram it. Let's go. Like, we'll pause the film. Let's see. So I look at the Instagram. He tells me about it. I go, oh, this is going to be your wife. And he laughs at me and he's like, no, this will be your wife. And I will be speaking at your wedding at some point, and I will tell this story. And then he laughs at me. He's like, no. And we get back to work because he's focused on it. And then I think it was several years later, you finally told me he had a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, what's her name? Well, it's Sierra. I'm like, good. I was like, if you would have just listened at the beginning. But you know what? You probably weren't ready for that yet. And you needed to mature a little bit. You needed to grow up a little bit, go through a little more adversity, a little more trials.
I needed to really know what mattered in life.
Yes. And she's amazing. Like, she's unbelievable. Like, from the moment Nate talked about her, the way he looked in his eyes, the way he spoke about her and everything, like, it was obvious there was something there, but it just wasn't the right time. Mm-hmm. And then it's really cool. So y'all were married July 7th of 2023.
Yeah, good.
But what year was it that you met?
So we met in 2018.
Nice.
Yeah,
so you had to let that relationship marinate.
A long friendship.
Yeah.
But it was also like I was really good friends with her brothers. Yeah. Didn't want weirdness there. But yeah, then 2023, we got engaged, and knew she was the one for me. And I was just lucky to know her and that she loved me back. Although I did say I love you first, and she didn't reciprocate immediately.
It was fair.
How was
it was fair.
It was hard.
So I love you, and then just
to then double
stare.
down. Like I said, yeah, I love
Nate
you.
Nate probably deserved that.
I probably did, but I said I love you, and I think she said thank you, and I was like,
oh.
Everything in me wanted to be like, yeah, like I love you, but like I'm not ready to say the L word either yet. But I doubled, I'll take the credit. I doubled down. I was like, well, I do love you, and you can respond in your own time. I'd love just to keep,
When did she respond?
Move forward. A couple days later, like she
let you feel it for a moment.
Yeah, but I had to own it. I had to sit and marinate in that. Again, I just wanted to backpedal and be like, no, did you mishear me?
I like it. It makes it even better when she says it, because she really wanted to know.
For sure. No, she, but yeah, so basically that happened, and then we got engaged, and then we were trying to decide, like, okay, wedding, we definitely want to have all of our people there, not a big wedding, but we wanted to have friends and family that, we were really tight with from both sides, and a lot of family. But then I was going out to Detroit for my 7th year at the time, and I really wanted to just get life started with her. And, it meant a lot to me to, I wanted to be married before officially taking the leap of living together and things of that nature. It was July 7th, not long after we got engaged, that we decided to just do a really kind of intimate elopement with just whatever family was around, with the plan that a year later on the exact same date, we would have our official wedding. And it honestly was amazing because we got married, we did all the legal stuff, and we started our life together. And then the next year we kind of just enjoyed being married while enjoying planning without the pressure of like, that wedding day has to be perfect. We have to make sure so-and-so's there, so-and-so. Like, it was a lot, there was still stress. And to her credit, Sierra like handled most of the planning. But yeah, it was a really cool process how literally that wedding day of 2024, quote unquote, wedding day, like it was just pure joy. We were just having fun. We were dancing. We were saying our vows, in front of people. But it was just all kind of like with a little smirk of like, yeah, but we're married. Like I wasn't worried about her getting cold feet was what I kept telling everyone.
This is just the cherry on top.
I was like, yeah, she'll walk down the aisle, and if not, I'll just see her at home.
So. No runaway bride. Yeah, exactly. And if she does run away, she's just
all right, we're living together.
She's running. Yeah. I'll see you at home, baby.
That was a fun wedding, and it was so cool. And it just shows like his brother-in-laws, his brothers, his friends. I got to meet everyone. So we did like a little bachelor party before, and it was cool because we just played a bunch of games. And like I said, Nate loves games. I love games. So there was cornhole, there was can jam, there was this other weird game that I have no clue.
You strategically missed your flight so you couldn't lose golf.
So when and we're gonna get the golf course. We're probably not gonna get to practice any, so it's gonna be fun.
Who's coming out on top today?
Honestly, we're probably just gonna go out there and have a good time and hit a couple extra balls. There's no pressure.
Snowing.
I want us both to be. Excuse. I want us to both be optimal when we play each other. Today's just about like catching up with an old friend and just having a good time.
Love it.
But we'll see who wins. But then the wedding part, it was so special being there and hearing everyone talk about Nate and Sierra and their love for one another, but also like who they are as people. I thought that was the biggest thing. And it just reiterated everything I felt about Nate and Sierra and having the opportunity to be there with their family. And the way they did, I think I hear so much because Tori and I also got married at courthouse, and we haven't done a ceremony yet. And, we're going on 11 years in April. And hopefully someday we do it. But like everyone has their own journey. And I think what Nate did was so special, and your siblings did it as well.
My sister and her husband who plays basketball in Italy. They're in Italy, and then my brother-in-law got married doing it similarly. So
it just took the pressure away, and it was cool that you did it on the same date. And then
on
their wedding, their ceremony day, after they've been married for a year, they got to make a great announcement.
Oh yeah, so it was also cool on our a year after we were married, on the ceremony day, we got to announce to all of our people there that we were actually, I think it was 3 or 4 months pregnant at the time. So that was also cool, getting to celebrate with all of our people that news that we were having a baby boy due in December. So December of 2024, we had our baby boy, Luca Michael Sudfeld. My middle name, we gave him his middle name, and then Luca because we really love the meaning of bringer of light, because brought a ton of light to our life, and he's just been the best so far.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you, man.
And with your family and who they are, Luca's going to bring a lot of light to the world and be very impactful. And I know you're a new father, and I know it's been life-changing and everything. So what has that been like? Like it's a change when all of a sudden you're a parent, like all of a sudden you get the dad strength. You're changing diapers.
Yeah.
Well, what's that journey been like for you? Because he's 9 weeks old?
Yeah, he's 9 weeks old. Yeah, 9-10 weeks old. Yeah, I mean, the dad strength is real. The dad instinct is real.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, first when we found out we were pregnant, like we weren't trying. We weren't not. It was like the first time we just weren't not trying, and so kind of happened faster than we anticipated, but it was pure joy. Like we knew this is what we would love to do. We'd love to be parents and really want to be an intentional father. That's something I'm really passionate about. I'm really thankful my father and mother like invested so much into me and supported me and never pushed me in any direction, but just were winding my sails wherever I wanted to go. But yeah, definitely have taken it very seriously to be a father, and wanting to just make sure I can instill as good of values as I can, teach them, how to just be a good, strong man in this world. I think we could just really use that. I think, knowing his value, bringing value, but just supporting him and guiding him to be a man of integrity. You know, he's young, but just want to lead him in the right ways to being a man that, you know, points to the Lord. You know, my faith is super important to me. So someone who can, you know, like his namesake, bring the light and, you know, love people, love the Lord. And yeah, just, but when it happened and I found out that we were pregnant, like, it's crazy. The lens of my eyes like really changed a little bit. Now everything's more, I've always been kind of like eyes on the future. How can I prepare, be better? But like really changed the lens that I was wearing, because, all right, what future am I bringing my son into? What, you know, what infrastructure is there for him? How can I help, you know, guide him this way? And what man do I want to be that I want my, you know, I think my son can be proud of? And can I be a man of integrity in all these ways? Can I do things the right way? Can I treat people well, be a man of my word, things like that? I think that's been really important and really exciting of a pursuit to, you know, to have. And then, you know, I was tested kind of early. I was super excited. I'll share that in December, I think it was end of November, actually, I had a team call to sign me to their team, and, you know, in an important time of the season. But it was right around the birth date, and we were getting ready to have our birth, and I was torn up when it happened, because a line I never wanted to cross is I never wanted to miss the birth of my son or daughter, or miss the birth of especially my first kid, let alone any kid. So I remember calling you when I was in that situation. I had, you know, 12 hours to make the decision, which was crazy to even think that you would turn down an opportunity.
Because you've been working really hard, like suffered a knee injury in Detroit in preseason, right when you all got married. So like you're fighting your way back to the NFL. Exactly. And we're talking about this. So that's a little bit of context. Like this isn't just like I was out of the league for a week. Yeah, it was like I'm trying to fight my way back into the league, but also the birth of my son is on the horizon. So that's to paint the picture of this. I remember this call vividly. Sure. Walking down, I was walking with probably Henry and maybe Bodie, and like we're having this conversation. So to give a little more context, my eighth season training camp, I tore my ACL at the end in the last preseason game, which kind of rocked my world a little bit. Really unfortunate. Cleat got stuck in the turf, so I was on IR that whole year, just rehabbing and trying to, you know, being a new husband. So I was really trying to lean into that, but just rehabbing, trying to get my knee back as good as possible. And then was able to make it back into training camp, and then things didn't work out in Detroit. Was released at the end of training camp. I think I had just gotten cleared the day before training camp. So, you know, knee feels so much better now, but it was a grind to get back to playing. But then, so, you know, I had a workout with a team and then had an opportunity to sign, but it was right around the birth date, and it was a line I never wanted to have to cross of like choosing my career over missing, you know, over the birth of my kid. That was just something that I always wanted to, you know, have the opportunity to make that decision and choose my family in that moment. And I take football extremely seriously, and I'm in great shape, and I don't feel like, you know, I feel like I have a ton of mileage left on me. I feel like I have a lot of ability left. But yeah, it was a really tough decision. I remember calling you and saying like, hey, here's the situation. I have a team. They want me to come fly out immediately cross country. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm hesitant to take it because I will miss the birth. We're due any day now. Like it wasn't like next month or 6 weeks, 8 weeks where you can figure that out. It was like we're coming up on birth week. And so ultimately prayed about it a lot, talked with my family, talked with you, and just like, what would I regret going forward? Would I regret missing that season? Maybe. Would I regret missing my son's birth? For sure. I know I would. And so made that really tough decision, and but super thankful, because even if I made the decision to go with the team, there's 0% chance I would have made it back for the birth. And it's just something that, you know, I wanted to be able to like truly follow what I believed in that moment. And I still have a ton of love for football. Literally, there's nothing else that I would choose, you know, over an opportunity, but that was a line that I had to draw, and it felt like I was being true to my values, and super thankful that I was there and got to be there to catch my son when he was born. And it's been such a fun process now, but yeah, it's been crazy. No, and I applaud you for that,
man. Mad respect.
And I just remember how you were wrestling with that, but you were always going to make that decision. But you still had to wrestle with it because of how much he had grinded back from his injury, worked his butt off, still does. I mean, you're still training with Kevin Boss. You're still training every day. Like you said, he still has a lot of mileage left to play. And there's teams out there that, maybe they hear this or maybe they don't or whatever, but that means a lot. Like those type of people mean a lot in the locker room. When that's the person that is holding the ball and making a decision, you want someone with that kind of integrity that's like, hey, they're gonna make the right decisions. They're gonna make the tough decision. Like I don't know how many people would actually do that decision. Like this, you get an opportunity to play in the NFL again after you've been fighting your way back. There's some people that I don't know would stay back. And there's also a lot that would, but like I'm just saying, like your decision was very impactful. And you get to tell Luka that someday. And you get to tell him that story and how much like he's more than your career. He's more than football. Our children are more than what we do. Like they mean so much to us. It's not easy raising children. But what you said is like being intentional, being there, your foundation in Christ. It's going to be I always say a beautiful chaos. It's not easy, but it's a beautiful chaos. And every day is a new journey. John, you're a father of 2.
Yep.
Every day, there's some days we talk before show and we're just laughing at what our kids are doing and what we're having to do. Whether it's lock them in the room or do right. That was a previous episode.
No, I mean, it's like, well, how come on a day that I'm going to be recording, you decide to stay up until like 5 a.m.
Right.
But it's
so
not
inconsiderate.
It's not about, look, everything you said just points to the type of man you are and the type of father you're going to be. Fatherhood, parenthood is not about perfection. It's about presence, right? Being present. You chose to physically be present, and that just says so much about you. But also you had the comprehension to take a step back with perspective and be like, what's going to matter when I'm 80? And if you can approach fatherhood like that with the balance of being physically, mentally present, but also putting things in perspective of like what really matters, it's just huge. That's everything, and it's not going to be perfect ever, so giving yourself grace and giving your partner grace, because this is the first time any of you have ever done this.
Absolutely.
And it gets hard, but I'm just so excited for the journey that you're going to go on, because as he starts becoming more of a human and you start seeing the world through his eyes and everything's just amazing, and it's a lot of fun. It's hard, of course, but that's what makes it even better.
Exactly.
Right? For sure.
Because those obstacles are the best. We talk about obstacles all the time because it's just like it should be a synonym with parenthood, It's like, because it's hard, but that's what makes it so rewarding, right? Like when you when you bounce back and your leg's stronger than ever and you get back on the field and you beast it out, how rewarding is that going to feel?
Oh yeah. Huge. And I was listening to a podcast recently that really hit me of like fatherhood, especially like, because we can kind of get caught up in this culture of like, oh, kids are going to tie you down. Kids are going to, you're not going to be able to live your life, but like there's no difference. The point being made, I think it was Jordan Peterson, was there's no difference between responsibility and adventure. Like the true adventure is being reliable, responsible, and from that, and like you're basically, responsibility in being a parent is the sacrificial love. Like you're taking away of yourself for the greater good of someone other than you. And I think that's so poignant and so real. And it's delayed gratification. It's all these things that we're understanding more as we, get data and understand just relationships and things like that. And I just think it's so important that we, really lean into embracing that responsibility, because that's what also being a man and being a good husband and father is you embrace that. And there's freedom in that, and there's challenges for sure, but there's no greater, more noble pursuit than those things.
Yeah. That was great, man. That's real.
That's real. And you're recognizing
that is real.
You're raising somebody's husband. You're raising somebody's father.
For sure.
And there's a lot of responsibility in that. I hear you on that. There has been like a glorification of the sort of single, like I can do whatever I want whenever I want. And that's great. And if it truly works for you, then awesome. But I agree that there is something really special about building a family unit.
For sure. And again, there's no judgment if someone
absolutely
chooses a job instead of the birth of their kid, like no judgment at all. Like do what, you feel in your heart is the right decision, is the noble, is the decision of integrity. But for me to be true to myself and my values and what I ultimately want, which is I really want to cultivate an amazing family that from that family unit we can spread and try to spread to community and spread light essentially. And, move the needle in a positive way in the world. Bringing positivity and just love and in our case, like my faith, like I just want to, I also listened to Dallas Jenkins, who created Chosen recently.
Yeah.
He created
Amazing
Chosen.
show.
He didn't create it recently. He created it, but I listened to him recently.
Yeah.
Incredible show. I love a lot of what he's doing. And what I love, he said something that, hey, my job is to gather. I'm not sorting the pieces. I just want to gather and give people essentially just, share God's love and just share. But I don't have to sort the good fish, the bad fish, whatever fish. I don't care. I'm a gatherer, and I'm just going to do, that's just what I want to do. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, it's not my job to, to judge or do anything like that, but I can show love and I can gather people. So
no, you do an amazing job with that. And you and Sierra are an amazing team, and just always remember you're a team. I appreciate you sharing all that, and we're excited. I mean, this will probably be a check-in episode down the road to see how everything's going. We'll see you balling out on the field. We'll see how he is on the golf course today. But
get some content.
Seriously, thanks for joining us. It's always fun catching up. We'll get to catch up
for sure.
In a really authentic way, trying to hack at some balls soon. But what's some fun we always do at the end of an episode is we either do a dad joke or impactful quote. But I just thought today, let's give John the floor for a little dad joke. Let's go.
Yeah, so Nick will either do the impactful quote or I'll do the dad joke, because I've
You
done
probably
a
coulda
little bit
guessed
of
that.
comedy in my day.
Let's
I've
go.
been no stranger to the stage. But Roddy is really the comedy master. Okay, so here we go. And it's actually on my phone. So now, and Roddy has my phone, so I'm going to remember it off the top of my head. How do you find Will Smith in the snow? Just look for Fresh Prince.
Ooh.
Come on. Anyone, huh? Rod?
Da-da.
Rod?
That was
Play
pretty
on words
good.
there.
I got to
That's
really
pretty
get better at my dad jokes.
Well,
now that
oh,
I
man.
know.
Hey,
So I'm going to go to the well. It seems like you've got some good ones.
yeah, no. Well, next time you're on, we're gonna have you do the dad joke.
Oh,
of
you
the
might
day.
like this one, the one about the melons. It was on the first episode, but why don't melons, because you did elope, which I kind of just gave away the punchline, but why don't melons run away to get married?